Hey, in this video, we are going to share different tips for Link My Books users in the UK, United Kingdom. Link My Books is accounting bookkeeping software for e-commerce sellers. It works in UK, it's good for Australia as well, United States, US. But today we're going to speak about UK users because there's quite many users of Link My Books in UK specifically. We have some tips for them. Maybe we'll talk about some problems that specifically might arise in the UK or some hardships that appear for this audience. And in the description, we're going to have a free trial of Link My Books t-shirt here as well. Special coupon code, 50% off for 3 months. So it's a nice way to save money. An affiliate link means that if you ever click on the link and invest in Link My Books and do business with Daniel Little, the founder, then I'm going to get a little commission from the deal. No extra cost to you. This way we keep everything free here and try to enjoy, just live and do cool stuff. So then man, can you introduce yourself, man? And then we're going to speak about tips for UK users. Also, one last little thing, we have tutorials for Link My Books in the description as well, so you can understand how to use the tool. So yeah.
Thanks, Bova. Thanks for having me here again. So I'm Daniel Little, co-founder and CEO of Link My Books. We started 7 years ago, believe it or not. And before that, Pete and I who own the business. We were Amazon sellers ourselves. So
Mhm.
we have walked in the shoes of our customers
Mm.
and felt the pain and decided that there was something to be done about it. A typical software success story, I think.
Nice, nice, man. Yeah, good that you're thriving 7 years. Interesting and
Yeah.
based on experience, it's cool. Like you've been there, you've felt the pains of sellers, and that's why you just know what to do better in a way. So it's cool.
I guess so. In today's video, I think we're talking about the problems that sellers may face with their accounting and bookkeeping in the UK specifically,
Mhm.
and the pitfalls to avoid. So, do you want me just to kick off with the big ones?
Yeah, let's kick off with the big ones. And also would appreciate
Yeah.
if you explain where Link My Books can come in and help in a sense, like where what does it
Yeah.
solve? But yeah, from the UK seller perspective, yeah, it would be interesting.
Nice. So, I think one of the things we see the most often with UK-based sellers is that they're effectively getting their bookkeeping wrong. So they come to us and they'll say like, "Oh, I've been doing this manually now," or "I pass it to my accountant and they just deal with it." And I think I'm just looking for something to speed this up a little bit. And they think
Mhm.
that the only reason they need software is to save a bit of time instead of them having to go in and download the reports and stuff like that. I can see a fly flying around you.
Yeah, I'm trying to
It's
maneuver to
annoying
listen
you.
to you and to also, yeah, it's like, but
Um,
yeah,
little
yeah,
dance in the background there.
yeah.
And so what they don't realize is that under the surface, they're actually getting their bookkeeping wrong. So we actually did a survey a good few many years ago now,
Mm.
but there was 100 users that came into the platform, and we looked at them, and 75 of those 100 were getting their bookkeeping wrong. And it was things like they were under or over declaring VAT, or they weren't reclaiming VAT on some of their fees, or they were getting things just catastrophically wrong by just taking the amount that they'd been paid from the sales channel and just putting that straight in as revenue and accounting for that as just sales and just counting it done for the day. But if we break
Mm.
those down a little bit further as to why they're wrong, so if we look at the VAT one, for example, so on the VAT side of things, on your income, so the money that you've received in from customers, there's basically a few ways you can get that wrong. The first is you're not separating the income out by tax rate. So if, for example, you sell standard rated goods, reduced rated goods, and zero rated goods, i.e., some standard products like a computer mouse, a keyboard, like a foam roller, for example, or a
Mhm.
zero rated product might be food or baby products or something like that. If you don't separate those out when you account for your revenue, then you'll pay too much VAT because you'll probably account for them all as 20% VAT,
Mm.
and some of those were actually zero rated or reduced rated, so 0% or 5%. So that's the first thing. But the second thing, which is probably more prevalent, is that people don't separate out exports. They just assume that when they're selling on Amazon.co.uk, for example, or they're selling on one of the other sales channels that we support as well, like eBay, for example, that all their sales are going to UK customers. And what they don't realize is
Mm.
that the eBay global shipping program and the Amazon global shipping program is shipping their products all over the world. And when a customer from outside the UK buys their products, they don't pay VAT.
Hmm.
And so they have not collected any VAT from the customer, and so they shouldn't be paying any VAT to HMRC. And we see that time and time again that people don't separate that out. And they'll say like, oh, but I definitely don't have any sales outside the UK. I only sell on Amazon
Hmm.
UK or I only sell on eBay UK. And they
Hmm.
just don't realize that it's happening. It's like, unless you've opted out, Amazon and eBay are doing that.
Hmm.
So that's number
Hmm.
two. And then number three is there's actually some rules in the UK in VAT legislation, which means that in certain circumstances, the marketplaces themselves are responsible for collecting and remitting the VAT. And so, unless you are identifying those sales and separating those out, then what will happen is the customer will pay the VAT. The sales
Hmm.
channel will then recoup that from you and they'll pass it directly to the HMRC. And then when you account for the sale, you'll also pass the VAT to the HMRC. So now you've paid VAT twice on that
Hmm. Yeah.
transaction. And so you lose out on your profitability basically. So it's really important that you separate out the revenue into those categories. So you've got standard revenue, reduced revenue, and zero revenue on the product side. You've then got domestic sales and international sales. And then you've got sales where you are responsible for VAT and sales where the marketplace is responsible for VAT. And then to tie it back, like you said, over as to how
Yeah.
Link My Books can
Yeah.
help with that, that's exactly what we do. So when we look at your payouts from the sales channels, we look at the individual transactions that made up the payout, and we look up the VAT information on each of those individual orders. So we will separate out products based on the product type, we will separate out international and domestic orders, and we will separate out orders which are VAT responsible for you and VAT responsible for the marketplace. So that means that your income will be sorted. But that is a big mistake that sellers make. And then the second one we talked about was around the fee side of things. So if we take Amazon, because they are probably the most complicated, Amazon has entities all over the world. And so some of their fees they charge from their UK entity, and some of their fees they charge from their Luxembourg entity. And they try and charge as many as they can through Luxembourg because it's cheaper for them to basically do that. But back in August 2024, there was some new legislation passed which meant that they had to now charge most of their fees from the UK, which means that most of their fees are 20% now. So seller fees, regardless of where the item is going to, that is 20%. But your fulfillment fees are now all based on where the item is shipped to and from. And so some of those will be 20% and some of those will be reverse charged. So there's no VAT to pay. You just account for the VAT. And then your advertising fees, some of those for the UK advertising will be 20%, and some of those will be reverse charged. And then the same for your storage fees. So it becomes really complicated to do this manually. So even if you're
Yeah.
passing this to your accountant and just trusting that they do it correctly, unless they know that, unless they are down with all of the latest e-commerce VAT rules, then the chances are they might be getting this incorrect. And if they over declare or under declare your VAT, then it'll create a whole bunch of problems down the line. Because if you overpay, you're taking money out of your pocket and you're basically just giving it to the HMRC. If you underpay and HMRC find out about it and they do an audit and they realize you've been getting it wrong, then you'll not only have to pay them the VAT you should have paid them, but you'll also pay a penalty. And they can be 30, 50, or 100% depending on how serious it is. So it's definitely not worth getting it wrong. And so the question then becomes, do you want to rely on you doing this manually or your accountant doing this manually, or do you want to get them or you to use a software that can just do this automatically and 100% accurately every single time? And that's why Link My Books is the number one thing that UK businesses should be thinking about when they're selling on e-commerce.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, man. Makes sense. There's a lot of touch points where it can go wrong in a way. I'll ask you this, man. Of course, in the description, we're gonna have a free trial of Link My Books, best discount. Also, we have demo account. Maybe we could touch on that in a bit, like just to show it around. But when you create a Link My Books account, you now have an option to have a demo account to play around with the tool. We might showcase it just slightly to for viewers to understand. But maybe if viewers like, look, man, I only have one sale. Maybe like I'm just beginner. I'm just starting out. Like software, maybe I would love to try. But also, if someone wants to do it like spreadsheets or something, maybe you used to do it in such a way, maybe a spreadsheet where you type in each of these things that you've mentioned, and then what would you have as an idea for people who still like maybe are not too sure? Because then, you know what I think? If they do it manually, they see how it works. They then can do a versus with the demo account to see how much time they can save in a way. If they
Yeah.
prefer maybe the Google Sheet or something, then it's okay. Yeah. Also, if they prefer the software, of course, also good. But what do you think? Like, if for just how to manually do it? Like, should we have a Google Sheet where we type it in, or like I don't know, even what do you think?
I would personally say that I would not recommend doing it manually at all. I
Hmm.
think that, to be honest, I think it's almost impossible to do correctly manually these days because ultimately what you would need to do is you would need to take each individual order. You would need to find out where it was shipped from in terms of which warehouse at Amazon or eBay it was shipped from. You would need to work out the country that it went to. You would need to know the type of product that it is. You would need to know if the marketplace or you are VAT responsible. And then you would also need to account for all of your fees and work out the tax rates on all those things. And if you were going to do that for every single order individually, then even if you're only doing, say, 100 orders a month, relatively new seller, that's a lot of hours you're going to be spending on doing that. And still, like, there's the chance that you might drag the formula down wrong in your spreadsheet or you type in the wrong number and now nothing balances and now you're back to square
Mm.
one. So I think that for me, that's the reason why our pricing starts at just £13 a month because for small sellers, it's really important you get this right from the beginning as well. And so we understand that big businesses who save lots and lots of hours on this, and it's really important that they get it accurate because otherwise they can end up paying too much tax. That can be a big cost to them, and therefore there's a lot of value to be had. So we can charge a slightly higher fee. But for the small businesses that are just they would rather do this manually, but they just don't have the time, then we have products for them as well. So they can come in and they can use Link My Books and they can start with a free trial and see how good it is. And
Mm.
then it, as I say, starts at just £13 a month for small sellers. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't think I would recommend using a spreadsheet at all.
yeah, yeah. Sounds like too many touch points.
Too many ways for it to go wrong.
Yeah. All right, cool, man.
And really,
So,
as a new
yeah.
business, you should be focusing on growing your business, not looking in the rearview mirror all the time at your bookkeeping.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point as well. I've speaking with people here and there, and I feel like those who are able to, I would say, yeah, be also successful, profitable, but also those who are just beginners and are actually able to kind of start and grow and then become profitable. It's like speed, man. How quickly kind of people get to the most important things within what they're trying to do. So, of course,
100% agree.
it's just my observation. Of course, it's
Yeah,
good to
yeah.
be to check things and to make things not just to rush into things cluelessly. Yeah, it's not about that. It's about actually knowing what's going on, but getting to doing faster. So then, yeah, in sense of like accounting and doing e-commerce, in e-commerce as a seller myself, yeah, we're trying to eventually grow the sales. We're trying to launch some new products so we can potentially have more sources of income, small sources of income in the form of a product on Amazon. And it seems like when time is put there, then money comes kind of faster and results come. And then, yeah, of course, we do some tasks that maybe are not as useful for growth. So first, I think when we identify them, then we can see if we can automate them or remove them or have someone else do them, right? And then
The
we
thing
try
is, it's
to, yeah,
2025, isn't
yeah.
it? It's like
Mm,
we've got AI, we've got all sorts of automation tools out there. Like
yeah,
every part of your business, you should be thinking about, like, can I do this with AI? Can I do this with a software so that I can spend more time on the strategic
strategic, yeah.
growth side of the business? And I think that even as a small seller, like strategic growth might sound like, oh, well, that's something that big corporations do, but it doesn't
Uh,
need to be. Like, it just means that you take a step back from your business, you have a look at the relevant data sources, which are automatically populated by your automations that you've built. You basically just think about, okay, this is where I'm making my money, and these are my most successful marketplaces, and these are the metrics that I want to do something about this month. I want to
yeah,
reduce my refund ratio. So I want to have a look at what is it that's driving my refunds, do a bit more of a deep dive on that. Whereas if you're too busy manually doing your bookkeeping, then one, you won't have the time to even do that. And two, you might not even realize that your refund ratio is out of whack. So I think
mm,
it's about spending your time wisely on the parts of your business that you can actually move the needle.
yeah. Well said, man. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and again, based on experience, you're building a software company, you build e-commerce stuff, and you know what you're doing. So yeah, thanks for sharing your
I hope
knowledge with
so.
us. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, if we go into more philosophical thinking, also, what do we know, and whatnot, like we can go
Yeah,
really
yeah,
deep. But
yeah.
in like material results, seems like in terms of the company, you have jobs, people help you, and people work with you, and
Yeah,
some
yeah,
there's
yeah.
culture getting together. This is real result. But yeah, so again, in the description, a free trial of Link My Books to try it out, 14 days. Coupon code 50% off for 3 months. I think it's pretty good coupon code also. And we have tutorials that show how to use Link My Books.
Mm.
Also, previously we've mentioned like which things go wrong. Then I would appreciate if like maybe 1-2 minutes we could just share that part of Link My Books, which is again also part of the free demo account, where we can see exactly that in a way simplicity of what it does in terms of how it simplifies what needs to be, eventually
Yeah.
accounted for, sort of.
So here I am inside the demo account. And as was
Mhm.
said in another video that we filmed actually, is that now you have the option when you join Link My Books that you'll land on a page like this when you come in. So you'll sign up for a free trial. You'll sign in with Google, Xero, or QuickBooks. At that point, you're just signing in. You're not connecting anything. And then you'll have the choice to connect your marketplaces. But at the very bottom, if you don't want to connect yet, if you want to just have a look around, you can create a demo account. And at that point, you'll be able to choose a UK, US, or Australian business demo. For the purposes of this, I'm going to go into the one that we've already created, which is a UK one. And I think what's quite good is to be able to show you exactly what I was talking about.
Hmm.
So before I was saying that if you sell different types of products, if you've got products that go outside of the UK, or if you've got sales which the marketplace are VAT responsible, like all of that we're actually doing here. So this is a payout from this is LMB shop, but let's just imagine it's Amazon or eBay or Etsy or someone like that.
Hmm.
£318.49. Now, of that, we've got some sales principal, sales which are being shipped to the UK, and these are zero rated products. So these are food or baby products or something like that. And so they don't have any tax on, and they will go in the sales account. Now, if you were doing this manually, you might have missed that, and you might not have realized that those are zero rated products, and therefore you pay 20% VAT on that.
Mm.
And now a sixth of that, so £55, you've just lost because you've just paid it to the HMRC instead of keeping it in your pocket. Then you've got sales that are shipped outside the UK, and again, those are zero rated as well because they're exports. There's no UK VAT to pay on them. And so again, you're maintaining the full value of those transactions in your pocket. And then finally, we come to the sales that are actually shipped to the UK, which are 20% VATable. So these ones are the ones you need to pay VAT on. And so that's why it's super important to be using something like Link My Books to automate that process because this list of transactions might actually be 100 orders. On a bigger seller, it could be 10,000 orders, it could be 100,000 orders. And so for you to do that manually is just unreasonable to be able to do it. And then your different types of fees. So in this example, all the fees are 20% VAT, but in some cases, some of the orders might have 20% on, some of them might have zero rated in terms of fees. So I think that this is a keen example of where we are separating all this out for you into all the different types of transactions. We're putting it in the correct account with the correct tax rate, and all you need to do is just send it across to Xero. And you can do that individually from the settlement dashboard, which we looked at before. So you can say action send to Xero or QuickBooks, or you can do it through our automation as well. So you can just turn it on so that it just automatically posts the data across. So I think that it's increasingly hard now to do this manually. And I think using a piece of software that costs from as little as £13 a month is a wise investment into your business to be able to automate this side of things and then to be able to use the financial analytics to be able to decide how best to grow your business. We looked at this in another video, so I'll not cover it now. I think there's a link below in the description. But yeah, I think that stuff like this is just so powerful.
Then the zero rated products, when we connect Linkman Books to our sales channel, it will determine based on our product what UPC, like how does it know that it's a zero rated product, or do we need to supply this information to you? This.
Very good question. Very good question. So for Amazon and for Shopify, we can automatically detect that. So for
Mm-hmm.
Amazon, we use what's called the product tax code. So
Mm-hmm.
when you add a product to Amazon, you also add a product tax code. Now, all products by default will have the AGEN tax product tax code, which just means that it incurs
Mm.
tax. But if you sell food products or baby products or like car seats or anything like that, which is a lower VAT rated item, then you can select the correct product tax code in Amazon, and then it will automatically charge the customers the correct VAT amount, either nothing or 5%. And we can detect those product tax codes as they're coming into Link My Books. So for all of those transactions, we'll be looking up the orders, we'll look up the product tax codes. So we'll know which ones are zero rated and which ones are reduced rated, and we'll move those accordingly. For Shopify, we
Hmm.
have a similar thing where basically we can detect it from Shopify if you've ticked the box to say taxable or non-taxable. For
Hmm.
all the other channels, so let's imagine this was an eBay account, then what you would do is you would come into Link My Books, you would go into product groups, and then in product groups, here we have three example products. This one is marked as zero rated. These two are standard rated. And so you could just choose in this drop down which type of product these products are. And
Mm.
if you've got lots of products, you can do it through bulk upload as well. So you can download
Hmm.
our template, then you can like use a Excel worksheet to correct all the tax rates and then upload the sheet again, and there you go, you're done. So I think that it's much easier for Amazon and Shopify, but the others are as straightforward as we can make it. Unfortunately, those other channels just don't make that information available through their APIs. Some people might sell on Amazon and then they might also sell on eBay. And so obviously the eBay side of things you have to do manually. Same for TikTok Shop as well. But we automate as much of the process as we possibly can, basically.
Maybe you have a little tip for those who are, they're on eBay and they need to do it manually. Like, how do they get those right tax codes? Should they contact some department or should they ask the factory? Or there's like maybe just because maybe a seller is listening, like, look, man, I don't know. Like, what about mine? Like, I've just here my first product. I'm not even
Yeah,
sure, or not even first product. Maybe they're
I
looking
think
into expanding and they're like,
I think most sellers will probably know if they sell zero rated or reduced rated products. But if
mhm,
they don't know, then I think you can actually go on the HMRC's website and you can actually like list of all the types of products that
mhm,
are zero rated and reduced rated.
mhm,
Alternatively, you could maybe ask ChatGPT to see if like it can give you some advice. It might not be
mhm.
100% accurate, but it'll
Yeah.
probably point you in the right direction. And then the
Uh-huh.
last thing I would be was to be ask your accountant.
Yes.
Or you can chat with us as well. We might
Yeah.
be able to help
Yeah.
you on the product side of things.
Thanks, man. All right, so we kind of covered the UK, link my books and UK problems. Maybe something else that comes in mind, or something I should have asked you and have not about specifically UK sellers or accountants and bookkeepers that are managing UK sellers, where you see specific problems for that, or maybe we have covered it all in a way.
I think we've probably covered a lot of it. I
Yeah,
think that like maybe a bit of an unknown problem is just that a lot of people still do this manually. And I think
let's
it's
go.
not so much of a problem for Link My Books users, but for
Yeah.
non-Link My Books users, people who aren't using it yet, I think if you're sitting on the fence and thinking, do you know, I have a perfectly good manual process that does this and all the things that they've talked about, I think about as well. You just need to ask yourself the question, is it really worth your time? Because if you are spending even an hour on this per month, you're wasting probably 55 minutes because in 5 minutes a month, Link My Books could do this for you. So we automate the whole process, sending it to Zero, a new Lit or QuickBooks, and all you need to do is just reconcile it in Zero QuickBooks with like a few clicks. So it might even take you just 2 minutes per month. And so I think that the question you need to ask yourself is, if you could get back 58 minutes, could you do something to grow your business? And most people would answer yes. Most good entrepreneurs would answer yes.
Mhm. All right. So we have again free trial. Link my books in the description for our listeners, viewers. 14 days, try it out. There's a demo account as well. In the sign up process, scroll down, you'll find the demo account. Coupon code to save money, 50% off for 3 months. If you do enjoy the free trial, you want to try it out and pay 50% less for 3 months, use the code. It's in the description. And thank you for supporting the channel. If you do business with Daniel and with my books, I'm going to get a little commission from that. No extra cost to you. And this way, I keep the content free and we can grow together. And yeah, all the tutorials are in the description as well on how to use it. We're trying to just provide you with everything so you can take it, get those 58 minutes, or get clarity, get peace of mind. And then, yeah, it's good for us because I'm as an affiliate, I can earn as an affiliate and help the company grow. you as a user, you get to grow your company, Dan gets to grow his. So kind of I see it in this way, that's why we're investing time and kind of doing these tutorials to just explain the value and hopefully help you eventually, to be honest. Like I think it's if we do, then awesome. If not, then we did our best. But I think these vids are actually good in to some extent. So thank you, Dan, man, for your time today and the viewers.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Thank you very much.
Nice to be here.
Thank you.